All right. So we doctors have realized for a long time that some form of moral psychology is of urgent importance to alcoholics, but its application presented difficulties. So how do we get you to understand? Right? It's through your own experience. That's why the first step is in past tense. Right. Turn to the next page. Roman numeral 28. And these are the doctors talking. It said, we believe it's so suggested a few years ago. What time is it? It said, we believe it's so suggested a few years ago that the action of alcohol in these chronic alcoholics is a manifestation of an allergy. That the phenomenon of craving is limited to this class and never occurs in the average temperate drinker. So what does an average temperate drinker look like? Anybody in this room? Right? That the phenomenon of craving is limited to this class and never occurs in the average temperate drinker. These are allergic types. Can you ever safely use alcohol in any form at all? And we're talking about alcohol in any form at all. We're talking beer, we're talking wine, we're talking whiskey, we're talking cough syrup, right? We're talking hand sanitizer, we're talking rubbing alcohol. We're talking alcohol. We're not talking drugs, crystal meth, heroin. They're not referring to alcohol in any form at all as drugs. They're not. It's alcohol in any form at all, meaning alcohol in any form. Whether it be whiskey, whether it be beer. You guys follow me? Right? These allergic types should never safely use alcohol in any form at all. Once having formed the habit, so have you formed the habit? Have you found you can't break it? Have you lost your self-confidence and your reliance upon things human? Does your problems pile up on you and do they seem astonishingly difficult to solve? Right? So it says frothy emotional appeal seldom suffices. Right? What is frothy emotional appeal? I guess it's like, just don't drink. Come on, can't you see what it's doing to you? Frothy emotional appeal is best described in the book on page 20. He's really described. You guys don't have to turn there. I'll read it to you. It says, how many times people have said to us, I can take it or leave it alone, why can't he? Why don't you drink like a gentleman or quit? That fellow can't handle his liquor. Why don't you try beer and wine, lay off the hard stuff? His willpower must be weak. He could stop if he wanted to. She's such a sweet girl. I should think he'd stop for her sake. The doctor told him if he ever drank again, it'd kill him. But there he is, all lit up again. That says, now, these are commonplace observations on drinkers, which we hear all the time. Sometimes even in AA meetings, you hear the same crap. Oh, you see that these expressions refer to peoples whose reactions are very different from ours. Right? It means that the people who are telling you those things are not alcoholic. They don't have this illness. The frothy emotional appeal seldom suffices. The message which can interest and hold these alcoholic people must have depth and weight. So sometimes people don't like to hear the truth. Sometimes it's like, let's don't talk about God, because you scare the newcomer away. Or sometimes you got to be nice to the newcomer, right? Because you don't want to scare him away. Right? Sometimes you hear crap like, we'll love you till you love yourself. Right? You guys ever hear that one? Right? I mean, that's just crap. Right? Sometimes we waste so much time trying to worry about the feelings of a newcomer instead of helping them save their life. What's more important is how a newcomer feels, or us trying to help them save their life. Right. Right, but you don't hear that much anymore. Everybody just wants to tiptoe around them. Right, because they're so afraid of hurting their feelings. When a newcomer, when he come in, what I was taught was the least important thing here is what a newcomer feels or thinks. That is absolutely the worst or the least important thing. Right? Because if I don't change how I feel or think, then I'm going to get drunk. And if I do change how I feel or think, if I do work the steps, how I feel and how I think are going to change anyway. So coming in the doors, what a newcomer feels or thinks is the least important thing there is in this world. Is the least important thing. Because your ideas are what got you here. You can't fix the problem with the same mind that got you into it. You can't fix it. You can't fix it. Does that make sense? Right? So there has to be some other way. So here's the part. Next paragraph says, men and women drink essentially because they like the effect produced by alcohol. The sensation is so elusive that while they admit an interest, they cannot after a time differentiate the truth from the false. To them, their alcoholic life seems to be the only normal one. They are restless, irritable, and discontented. Any restlessness, irritability, and discontent in this room today?
Yep.
Restless, irritable, and discontented, unless they can again experience the sense of ease and comfort that comes by taking a few drinks. Yeah, you guys remember that? Okay. Okay. I got it. Okay.
Yeah, I got this.
Remember that? Sense of ease and comfort that comes at once by taking a few drinks. Drinks which they see others taking with impunity. After they succumb to the desire again, as so many do, and the phenomenon of craving develops, they pass through the well-known stages of a spree, emerging remorseful with a firm resolution not to do this again. Anybody here like that? All right, and this is repeated over and over again. And over and over again. And we repeat this over and over again. And unless the person can experience an entire psychic change, there's very little hope of his recovery. So if this is happening to you, unless you can experience an entire psychic change, and how do you come about producing an entire psychic change? Some form of moral psychology. That's what these 5 spiritual principles are. They've written down an application for moral psychology, where you go in and you find your mistakes, because you can always find somebody else's, and then you confess those mistakes. You tell somebody everything you've done. Then you go out to the world and you set these mistakes right. Anybody here suffer from self-esteem issues? Then you go do esteemable acts. It's just that simple. Right? How many people here have been homeless? So you got to go find a home, right? It's just that simple. If you're homeless, you got to find a home. If you suffer from self-esteem, you got to do esteemable acts. Or you have to do just the contrary, just the opposite. Right? It said, on the other hand, as strange as those who don't understand, once this psychic change has occurred, the very same person who seemed doomed, who has so many troubles, ever despaired solving them, suddenly finds himself easily able to control desire for alcohol, provided a few simple rules are met. And what are those simple rules?
Trust God.
It's the 5 spiritual principles. You know, today's Super Bowl Sunday, and there's a guy playing in it named Tom Brady. Right? How old is Tom?
43.
I mean, he's an old guy in the football world, right? Right? Do you think he got to be there just by doing it one time? And so the only way you get good at this, the only way you get proficient at this, is to keep doing it. Inventory, confession, restitution. Inventory, confession, restitution. You have to keep doing it. Just like you had to keep drinking and using every day, you got to do this every day. Because this is your spirit. This is the spirit that you're consuming. Does that make sense? But most people don't do that. Most people will just rest on their laurels and not do anything after they've done their first initial steps. And just sit and just wait. And if you're of the hopeless variety, you don't have that luxury. You will continually seek a spirit or consume a spirit. It's not like you have any choice in this matter at all. What does your experience show? So, On the other hand, as strange as those those who do not understand, once this psychic change has occurred, the very same person who seemed doomed, who had so many troubles, so many problems he despaired ever solving them, suddenly finds himself easily able to control the desire for alcohol, provided a few simple rules are followed. So what we're going to do is kind of like sum up some of the steps here. Okay? In the first, there's 12 steps. The first 5 steps are character revealing. Right? The first step is 2 questions. Right? When you drink, can you guarantee how much you're going to drink? And if somebody who loved you asks you to stop, can you stop and stay stopped? What does your experience show? Step 2 is just a question. Are you willing to believe in a power greater than you? And the book gives us this, it even tells us what we can refer to. A feeling of a friend. Right? My God is the love of my grandmother. Right? Grandmother's not God, but it's that love that I have on the inside, or what I remember about what my grandmother, how she made me feel. That's my God. So step 2 is very important. Right? Step 3 is a decision. There's no action in a decision. Right? Made a decision to turn our will and our life with the care of God as we understood Him. That's not an action. That's a decision. 3 frogs sitting on a log. One decided to jump off. How many frogs are left? 3. He just decided. So step 3 is making a decision to go through with the 5 spiritual principles. It's a decision to do your inventory. It's a decision to, right? So the inventory is proof of the 3rd step. Producing a piece of paper is proof that I've taken a 3rd step. It's proof, right? That's really all you need. Then there's confession. And in step 5, it's not about your character defects, right? This is not about my character defects. Anybody standing next to me already knows most of my character defects. It's about the exact nature of the defect, right? Where does the old idea come from that drives me to do the things I do and to behave how I behave and to have this ego that I have? What old idea drives that? Is it that I'm really not that smart, or I really don't feel like I'm that smart, and I just can't tell you that I'm not that smart, right? So I just got to pretend that I'm that smart, and it's got to hide out.
So how do we find the exact nature of that?
Well, that's through the. This is through the 5th step, right? See, this is where Alcoholics Anonymous is taking a left turn. Is that your sponsor wants you to look for your defects of character? Everybody knows your defects of character. So it's kind of like saying that I'm bald and follically challenged. It's the same thing. We're not supposed to be making a list of our character defects. That's not what this is about. It's about identifying what the exact nature, what old idea do I have inside of me that creates and causes me to do what I do. And then once I recognize that, then that's step 6. Right? I've been doing a lot of screwed up shit. Do I want to stop doing this? Do I want to stop having these ideas? Do I want to stop having this old idea dominate me? That's step 6. Step 7 is a prayer. What's the difference between a defect and a shortcoming? A defect belongs to me. I'm always going to have that defect. I'm always going to have that defect. The shortcoming is when I act on that defect, where I can't see or do I care how that defect is going to affect other people. You guys follow me on that one? Because there's certain things that I have inside of me since I was this big. Certain things that make up my personality. If I can just eliminate the collateral damage of my defects. If I can stop me from hurting other people with my defects. Make sense? So that's the difference between a defect and a shortcoming. The 9th step is making amends. An amends is not an apology. How many times have you apologized to your family about things you've done? Right? And an amends does not mean that you're not going to do it again. That's ridiculous. An amends means that you see certain things in you that you want to change, and I've harmed you, and I go up to you and I say, how can I set this right? It doesn't mean that I'm not going to do it again. I mean, I don't want to do it again. But there's the human factor there. Do you guys understand that? Right? Yes.
Do we have to bring a sponsor or another alcoholic with time that we're working with into our financial amends? Can we start our financial amends with the book?
Yeah. But the question is, do you need some sort of sponsor to come in when you start making your financial amends?
Yeah.
I mean, that's not what the book says. Yeah, sometimes sponsorship gets way overrated.
I just want your view on it.
It's way over. It's way overrated. The term sponsor came from hospitals back in the 40s, right? Hospitals did not want anything to do with drunks, right? They just couldn't help us, right? Hospitals had the choice whether they took us or not, right? And so what would happen is if a good wet one needed come in and needed a hospital, somebody would come in and say that I'll sit with him, I'll sponsor him into this hospital, I'll come in and clean up after him, I'll take care of him, right? So the sober member was coming in sponsoring the guy in the hospital, right? That's how that term got started. Now it's turned into some sort of worship little item. You know, I mean, I don't get it. Yes.
To get some to hear somebody else's experience that's done it though, is that's what we do. That's what alcoholics do.
Well, but it's the experience of done what? Take the steps through the book.
Yeah.
Okay.
And make the amends with what's written in the book.
And this is another thing here. Is I'm just going to ask this question to everybody. Is it possible to work the steps in order if you're working them from the book?
In order?
Yes.
No.
Really?
Sam says no.
I mean, for the first time, maybe.
No, and he's absolutely right. Right, because in what step are you constructing your 8-step list?
Fourth.
The 4th step.
Yeah.
Right, on the 4th step, when you're writing down your mistakes, you are actually constructing your 8-step list. Right? So there's no way of working the steps in order. Right? If you're working it from the book. I mean, that's, this is where people just kind of make shit up. I mean, it's unreal how much stuff has been made up in Alcoholics Anonymous. I mean, it's just unreal. So with that, we're going to kind of open it up to questions a little bit. Mark, you got anything?
What's the difference between physical and emotional sobriety?
Physical sobriety is where I'm not inebriated. Right? Emotional sobriety is where it is when I feel good about that.
That's a good.
Right. But the question was, what's the difference between physical sobriety and emotional sobriety? And I wish I could achieve emotional sobriety. I really wish I could. Right? Monday?
I have no questions.
No questions? So what'd you think of the book study?
I liked it a
Yeah.
lot, thank you.
Beatrice, you got something? Jeff?
I think he pretty much threw another wrench in my It's more to think about. Thank you.
Yeah. Jason, you got something?
I'm just dealing with the frustration of making financial amends right now, fucking all morning.
Good for you. Now, what does the book say about financial amends?
It's right here on 79 is what I turn to because it says we don't dodge our creditors. That's the
What does it say next?
first thing that I don't want to hear. We do not dodge our creditors. Telling them what we were trying to do. We make no bones. We make no bones about our drinking. They usually know it anyway, whether we think so or not. Nor are we afraid of disclosing our alcohol.
Okay, what he's talking about here is the financial amends, and the book says that we don't dodge our creditors, right? If we go talk to them, arranging the best deal we can, so we don't dodge them. And it's like most alcoholics want to do this grandiose thing, right? To have $1,000, right? They want to have $1,000 with them and just throw it down on their feet and say, "Here you go, here's your money," Right, but that's not what it's saying. If you can do that, great. Right, but how many people can do that? Right, so that's why they say we don't dodge our creditors. Right, we meet with them, we discuss it, and we arrange the best deal we can, even if it's $20 a week. Right, you go talk to them. Right, that's what they're talking about. Beatrice, you got a question?
Yeah, I was gonna say, pretty much your credit debt comes off after 7 years, I'm pretty
Huh?
saying.
Okay. All right, so that's about all the time we got for this thing. Well, thank everybody for joining, and you guys have a wonderful day.